Hi, this is Joe Dietrich, KC0 Unawags. And I'm going to redo the APRS Beyond Position Reporting video that we did for our ARES meeting last night. Today is Friday, January 16th, 2026. And what we're going to talk about is the utility of APRS Beyond Position Reporting. So the topics we're going to cover include your home status, group messaging, WINLINK interfaces, APRS to SMS, information you can get from APRS bots, and finally emergency beaconing. One of my big beliefs in amateur radio, especially regarding APRS, is that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So when we can communicate a picture online and communicate that over amateur radio, we create a very good situational awareness. The first topic we're going to talk about is the home status. And if you look at an APRS map, you'll see hundreds of symbols for a given area, and a lot of them are just a home station beaconing. And what does that actually add to amateur radio? It demonstrates that you have a home APRS station. The KC HART program, which is the Kansas City Hospital Emergency Amateur Radio Team, almost 2 decades ago, started a system in Kansas City where every hospital has an APRS amateur radio station. And you'll see those with the H hospital symbols. The idea is that if the hospital's systems internet connections go down that show the status of a hospital's functional operation, those beacon symbols will change to a code that they have set up that will continue to identify the hospital's operational status using APRS and the mapping system. Following up, Jason, KM4ACK, posted video of using the green, yellow, red situational status in your WINLINK position report. And combining those two, I thought APRS is a perfect situation to add that to our own system. And that is switching your home symbol to a green, yellow, or red status to demonstrate your operational status on your primary situation. It simply changes your symbol to one of the 3 primary colors based on what's going on, and also add that into your beacon comment. If you look in the upper right, this is a screen capture of my station, and I have the green, yellow circle indicating everything as well, but also my beacon comment has the word green. That way, if somebody isn't looking at an APRS map, they may only see the beacon comment, and they'll know that all is well. And the goal is if anything starts to change, such as you aren't getting outside power, you don't have water, access to your house, any other number of situations, you change your status to what you think is appropriate, whether it's yellow or red, and hopefully other amateurs will be aware, perhaps be able to provide assistance. I picked what I thought were the best options for the symbols, looking at the table on the bottom right. Now, when you see in the descriptions, like the green is no, NO period WXS, it's actually a weather station. So in some sources it will just not populate with any data, and that's fine. With this, when you see the word NO period, that means you can overlay a number on any of those symbols. So when you're searching for it, you may have to find the NO period first to locate that. I've also included the other ways that the symbol can be found depending on your particular app. So the green circle is good. The yellow is the old civil defense code symbol, which really has no pertinent use anymore. Red is an upright red triangle, and then black, I don't know if you'd ever use the station abandoned, but certainly it would be a possibility and demonstrate that you're no longer at your primary residence. So the goal of this home status is to really communicate using APRS red and just a static icon that sheds no additional information to the rest of the amateur operators. What else can we use APRS for is group messaging. when you send a message, normally it goes to a single individual operator. And there's times where we want to talk within a group, but don't have to sort out through all the noise of all the message traffic being passed. The ANS RVR answer server created by, I think, Lynn, who has APRS ICE, has a server that you can create and join a group and direct messages to those other people that called members that have subscribed to them. And it's simply sending a message to the station ANS RVR, and in your message write CQ, and in our case we're going to consistently use the group name LivCo, LIVCO, and then a space, and then put in your message. It's a very simple process because the groups do expire in 24 hours, but that's not a problem. As soon as you type CQ LivCo, if the group hasn't started, it starts one. If it's there, you become a member of it. And most apps will allow filtering for the group, so you'll want to go into the filtering section and put LivCo as one of your filters to be allowed. It's pretty straightforward. We used this during a heavy snow event last year to communicate among each other, and Glenn KB0RPJ has working on a draft scrape where he can pick off snow totals in total, put them into a single website. His current format for that is CQ LivCo, and then the word snow with a colon, and then your snow total just in inches. You don't need to put inches in, just the numeric value. We'll get more information about that out as it comes along. But it's a very simple process and works really well, and allows us to communicate among a limited group of people using text messaging over APRS. The third topic is accessing your WINLINK email account via APRS. Now, this assumes, first of all, you have a WINLINK email account. WINLINK, I'm a huge fan of. It's a great way to share information. However, you have to log into your account in order to know that you have data emails waiting for you. And so with the APRS link that's been set up by the WINLINK folks, the simple process is just to add the word WINLINK into either your beacon comment for your APRS station or into your status text. And with that, your beacon, when it sends a WINLINK, the server will check once a day. You will get an email to let your text message to your APRS station to let you know if you have any inbox emails waiting on WINLINK, as in the example in the upper right, through my D710. Now, your beacon comment goes out every time your station beacons, which somewhere around 30 minutes, less if you're mobile, maybe every 5 minutes. A lot of apps also have a second option called status text. Status text, the goal of that is to transmit data less frequently. Because with all the stations, if you look at just a monitor, you'll see there's a lot of traffic passing over the APRS system. And so less critical data, such as WINLINK, because you only get an email and message once per day, pardon me, you could set your status text to go if your beacon is every 30 minutes, you can set it to status text to go once every 3 times your beacon comment goes, once every 4 times. So if you're on 30 minutes for a beacon, the status text might go only every 2 hours. But this really isn't time critical information, so you can lighten up the load on the APRS network by using status text at a lower interval than the beacon comment. Now, you can also collect information from your WINLINK account. That's a little bit more complex. It requires doing a login process, which is a challenge and response. You send some letters, they send you some numbers back. You have to figure out what those letters mean, reference to your password. But once you do that, you can get several things. First of all, the easiest is just to get a list of the last 5 messages. And you do that, and once you've logged in to WLNK-1, you will send an L, and you'll get a message back listing the 5 messages. If you actually want to read those messages, you'd again simply respond to WLNK-1 with R and the number of the line item for the message you want to retrieve. You can actually do send an email. That's an even more complex process. It actually takes 3 separate messages to complete the process. One advantage that makes this a little easier, especially if you're working mobile, like my D710, where everything has to be handled off the keypad of the microphone, is that you can create aliases for email addresses. For example, I could use Joe to send an email to my primary amateur radio email address, which you can certainly understand on a microphone keypad would be far easier. So the beauty again of the WINLINK is it's an interface between WINLINK and APRS, where you can use APRS, which you're more commonly going to access, to know if you need to access your WINLINK account to get into your emails, and you can certainly send them. Again, all this works assuming that you have the ability to get your signal out to a digipeater, and the digipeater will reach an iGate and get your information out to the internet. And then the process will work in reverse. NA7Q has a website called APRS Wiki, and he runs several services through this. The one that I think is most useful is the APRS to SMS text messaging, where you can use your APRS station and send a text message to a cell phone. The first thing is that you have to go to his website and opt in phone numbers. When you do that, the phone number will receive a text message telling them that they've been opted into this service. They have the opportunity to opt out, and also gives the website so they know what's going on. For my family, I've informed them in advance of what I was doing. The great thing about this is it's a two-way conversation. People can reply from the text message back to you and have a full conversation. Again, because I am operating many times from my mobile with just my keypad on my microphone, you can create aliases where you can use a name or even just an initial, which I have chose to do, instead of a full 10-digit number. And it makes it a lot easier. It's a lot easier to set these things up from a keyboard in advance rather than in the field on a microphone. In order to send a message, you just simply send it to station SMS, and your message has to include the @ sign or symbol, and either the 10-digit number or an alias if you have it set up, and then the message. And again, as long as your station can reach a digipeater, that digipeater should have no trouble reaching an iGate. The message will get out to the cell network. They'll receive the message usually within a minute, and they have the ability to respond to you. One of the other great things about this is the sending number is always the same, so the recipients can save that as a contact. I have APRS SMS in mine, and for other people, you may want to have them use your name and say Joe APRS so they know where that information is coming from. It does include your call sign with each conversation, since this is a single phone number used for multiple operators, and if they know your call sign, that will be helpful for them. NA7Q also has a couple bots. So sometimes you may be in a situation where your cell phone data is not strong enough with a good enough signal, but you might be able to reach a digipeater, and the digipeater will reach an iGate, and you can get network access. The first one I'm going to discuss is Find, which just allows you to find another amateur radio operator station. With their APRS, you will need to use their SSID. The context is simply, or the syntax is simply send it to station find, F-I-N-D, and put in the call sign with their SSID, and very quickly you'll get a return telling you where that station is and the last time they were heard, and give you a grid square. One of the ones that's really underutilized is his mail feature. Now, this is not email, but it's when you send a standard message over APRS, if that station that you're targeting is not online, they will not get it. That message just goes off to Never Never Land. With the mail feature, if you send it to mail and then at their call sign and give your message, it goes to a server, and that server that NA7Q has holds that message until it's retrieved by the receiving station. Now you think with APRS, like with WinLink, oh, I have to go retrieve it, which you can. You send a message to mail with the message APRSM, and if you have any pending APRS messages in the mail server, it will send them back to you. However, a better method is to use one of these two phrases in all message, or ALLMSG is really the best one. You put that in either your beacon comment or your status text. Every time that phrase is sent out with your beacon comment, it will go to the server and check and see if you have emails automatically and return those back to you. So what this allows is APRS messaging between stations, even if that station isn't online at that time. And by putting ALLMSG in your beacon comment or your status text, it will automatically go find those in a seamless manner. And if we look back at my box up here on the left side, you can see I have ALLMSG to pick up APRS messages, and then I also have WINLINK, WLINK, to pick up any WINLINK emails that I have to let me know. So those are a couple really good features. And again, I think the mail, if people can get on to that and put the ALL message in their beacon comment, is almost the best way to send a message to somebody. Because even if somebody's on APRS, they may pass between digipeters where the coverage isn't as good from one point to another, and when they pick it back up, if they lost it, they would be able to pick up that message again. And one of the great features of APRS messaging is you can send messages across the country or around the world. As long as you can get your message into a digipeater, you'll most likely get into an iGate that will go over and find that station wherever they are and send them information back to you when they reply. So it's a really good amateur radio based messaging system. Now there's another operator that runs bots or access to network internet based information. That's 9 Mike 2 Papa Juliet uniform. And he's got a website that I list here. With his format, you send it to his call sign with his -4 SSID. And he has a whole lot of information that you can retrieve. Something as simple as typing a message to today will return the zip code for your location, because again, APRS includes your location information in your packet. You can use tomorrow, or if you look at the message on the right, I sent it to Keith KB4 IRR's zip code down in Taney County, and it would get the forecast for Friday, which I wrote this for yesterday, Thursday, so would have been a day in advance. You can also do location services. Where am I? And it will return your location with your latitude, longitude, and a bunch of other information. Or you can do similar to the find feature from NA7Q. You can do where is, and using the call sign and SSID and find another station. It'll also do map searches pulled from OpenStreetMap. You can find police, fire, and ambulance stations, hospital fuels, and surprisingly even toilets. Now, public toilets are much more common in Europe, I believe, than they are in the United States. So I was a little curious about this and ran it, and sure enough, it returned the public toilets that do exist in Simpson Park just south of my house. You can also send your location information to somebody else by email. Again, you send it to his station with the -4 SSID. The message in this case is the POS MSG or position message, and include the recipient's email. And they'll get a detailed data with an embedded map. And he provides several links within that email to find like APRS FI or the Find You websites. They get multiple different sources for your location, whether it's slant long, MGRS, or grid squares. And then at the bottom there's a map that shows your location on it. So it's potentially a very good feature to get your information out to somebody else. So let's compare just real quickly the two ways to find other stations. The NA7Q has the word find as the station. You simply put in the call sign. I used Trevor's KC0KLU-5 when he was down in Oklahoma a few days ago. And this is what it returns. He was last heard about 3 days ago, 330 miles away in grid Echo Mike 25 Alpha Kilo. And that's very simple and easy to do. It's easy to remember. If you want more detail, you can use where is at the 9 Mike bot. You have to remember his call sign, which is not real simple. It's 6 characters long, and his -4. But you do that and then simply use where is KC0KLU-5, and you get a much more verbose response. It shows his grid to 8 digits. It shows his lat long in degrees, minutes, and seconds, as well as later decimal degrees. It shows his distance and his bearing. It shows his altitude and his grid square, as well as the address, and then the last heard in absolute time. So if you just want a quick answer, find is very easy. If you really want to know more information, the where is to the 9 Mike station is very useful as well. What you heard there was an APRS emergency beacon. Very rarely used and almost forgotten. They're still very functional. That was KB0RPJ Glenn and Trenton doing a test for me. I'm running the very old but very functional APRS app UI View 32. I like it mostly because of its very reliable and its robust mapping software, even if it's old. And APRS has the emergency beacon, which will set off an alarm at nearly all monitoring stations. Most of them will give your location, and if you have mapping software associated with it, we'll zoom to that location. If you see what happened here, my map zoomed to Glenn's address and location, put a red circle around it, and sets off an alarm because I've downloaded a separate add-on that's over 20 years old but still highly functional. And that app runs alongside my UI View 32 so that I'll pick up any emergency beacons. The important thing is, if you're going to set off an emergency beacon, let somebody know how they can contact you. So you need to make sure you put your contact frequency or phone number or something in your APRS beacon comment. How do we set off the beacon? Well, as best I can understand, there are 2 ways to do it. One, you can change your symbol in the symbol field to the emergency symbol, which is an upright yellow triangle with an exclamation point. On my D710 mobile radio, I can go into my position comment and change that to emergency. Most position comments, if they have them, it's definitely a Kenwood feature, include things like off-duty and route, priority, a few custom options. For me, emergency is the very last one, and if I select that, it's actually a confirmation that that's what I want to do, because they're aware of the consequences, that it will set off emergency alarms all across the world, potentially. But it can be a very useful feature. So it's important to know how to turn it on as well as how to turn it off. If you want to practice it, get off 144390, get to a simplex frequency, and if you want to see a great example, Jason Cam4 ACK, with many of his numerous videos, published a fairly recent one, I believe about 2 months ago, that included testing APRS emergency beacons on a number of his different radios to show you how they appear. Potentially a very useful feature in amateur radio. Again, as long as you can get your signal out to a digipeater, it gets to other stations, you should have success in setting off the alert. So our take-home points are, number 1, use your home or primary station symbol as a status indicator to let others know that you're okay or that you're not. And that we can use group messaging to target our operators, allow better messaging targeting more than a single operator. I love WinLink, except that you have to connect to find out if you have an email. You simply put WinLink in your beacon comm in your status text, and you'll receive a message at least once a day if you have pending messages. You can certainly get in a message list and even send or retrieve messages via APRS from your WinLink account. That gets a little more complex, and I have a cheat sheet that I keep all the instructions on, because they certainly are something that, unless you do it regularly, are going to be kept in your head. Being able to send a text message via APRS, I think, is a great feature and allows you to interact with non-amateurs, and they can respond to you. It's a two-way application. There are a number of bots where you can get information from via your radio through APRS that may be helpful to your situation. Includes sending your location out to other people via their email address. Know how to activate, and deactivate your emergency beacon in case you need to do that. And how do I keep this all straight? Well, I have a cheat sheet, and it has all these instructions that I've built up over a couple years. And never let go of an old Android. Those work great because Droid APRS is a wonderful, full functioning APRS application that with a $20 cable can attach to a simple Beofong. And so beyond the price of the Android, for about $40 you have a fully functioning APRS station, only limited really by your antenna. I think APRS is a wonderful application for amateur radio. The goal is to learn to communicate with it, and we can do much more than simply show our position reports. Thank you very much.